right, Coach. We got a great day here today. We got Coach Carbone on, the new head coach of Woodridge High School in New Jersey. Um, what conference are they in now? That's the is that the NJIC that they're in? The
Yes,
NJIC, yeah,
yep.
NJIC conference. Um, Coach, I think was at Sparta before that as a DC. Um, as had a long coaching career, has really done some great things. First opportunity, I think, to be a head coach over at Woodridge. So we're excited to talk to him more about it. Coach, if you could talk a little bit about your background and how you got into coaching and kind of your journey.
Yeah, absolutely. So just how I got into coaching was just, as a player, I kind of fell in love with the process of, the everyday preparation and, getting yourself prepared to compete on Friday nights and just what athletics kind of brings. It helped me tremendously in my life. So just to kind of have that and just be around it, I wanted to be able to give back to the game and give back to the coaches that were really good to me and helped me along the way when I needed some guidance when I was a young kid trying to figure out what I wanted to do. And it just kind of clicked. And then I started my college career at Wilkes University. I played for Frank Sheptock there, who's the head coach at Bloomsburg University right now. Great guy, great mentor, great leader. And I really knew I wanted to go into teaching with the coaching. So I know they didn't have phys ed at Wilkes at the time. So then I transferred to the College of New Jersey, who I played under Coach Hamilton, Eric Hamilton, who was there for a very long time. And then
Ever.
he was there forever. And towards the end of my senior year, he had stepped away, and I was doing my student teaching, and that's where I kind of started coaching because I had got injured the year prior. I had broke my forearm on a special teams play. Not the best, not the best way to go out, but I came back to camp, went through the whole thing, and the new guy that had took over kind of was like, "Hey, you're either here or you're at your student teaching. You can't be at both." And so that was kind of like the door open to be like, "Hey, it's time to go into coaching." And I started at Ewing High School, helped out there. I was helping out the running backs under Drew Bessler. I believe he's a principal now in somewhere South Jersey. I'm not 100% sure. Another guy, very fine discipline, like attention to detail kind of guy. The kid I coached there, Devontae Ellis, he ended up going to play at Del Val, had a really good career there. And then, I had moved originally from the city. I grew up in Queens. So then I moved out to Hackettstown, New Jersey, where that's like complete bipolar opposites of
Yep.
one another.
Yeah, buddy. That's a different world. That's like the moon.
Yeah, whole different world. So I knew I did enjoy it out there. I liked the small town feel. So I went back and my first coaching gig was after Ewing. I went to Lenape Valley High School with Don Smolin, and that was an eye opener because you get out of college and you're playing and you're like, I really know football, and then you sit down with a guy like that and you're like, wow, I really have a lot to learn. So definitely a really good experience. One of the coolest things he did was during a meeting, he kind of was like, hey, you're running the meeting today. And I asked him kind of afterwards why he did that. And he was like, you can always learn something in coaching. So that was kind of cool, kind of really cool experience to learn. And then I took a phys ed job at Sussex Tech, where I ended up coaching football there for a little bit. We won the conference when we were there. That was a pretty cool place that, it's tough to win because you're getting kids from all over and kind of meshing kids. And then the county college got a JUCO football team. And that was kind of an opportunity where I was like, I really can't pass this up. So I was the defensive coordinator, recruiting coordinator, and I wore a lot of hats. I did a lot of different things. And then after that, I went to Sparta, where I was the DC the last, 3 years. I've been a defense coordinator for about almost 9 years now. So, the head coach it was bound to happen. I just was waiting for the right opportunity. And the Woodridge job came along, and a couple people had told me to reach out and apply for it, and I did, and I had a great conversation with Mr. Sinclair, who's the AD, and the rest is history. And now I'm here, and I'm excited and ready to go. So
It's awesome.
Yeah. Were you looking for a head coaching job for a while, or was it more that you were looking for an opportunity? Like what made you come from where you were to go down to Woodridge?
yeah, so I was looking. I kind of I'm in a position right now where I can kind of, location geographically isn't really, something that's that's going to affect me in my life currently. So I'm able to move. I'm able to I can go places. I can take on opportunities. I mean, I was looking at a lot of different things. My family is all still out in Long Island, and then my mom lives out in Florida. I got some family in Georgia, so I mean, I explored kind of every option. I always wanted to be a head coach. I mean, always like when I got put in those roles, like as a kid, as a captain, like as a leader, I always felt like it was something that just came natural to me. So like, I just really wanted to kind of take that on. And I applied a lot of places, and I got down to the final two, final three, and they took an in-house guy, and I totally understand all that. And I get the whole process, but, I kind of said, all things happen for a reason, and
Yep.
those that passed up on me, that's fine. And now I'm at a place where I feel like it's a really good fit, and I'm super excited to be here. So
That's awesome. That's awesome. It's um coaching.
You know it all well, Dave.
I've coached in the NJIC conference, so
you
a
did
couple places.
State
What?
Park,
Yeah.
right?
Oh yeah. Yeah. I
Yep.
coached at Pal Park, Leonia, and I coached at Saddlebrook as a head coach many moons ago. But yeah, it's
That's That's
you know
Dave's wheelhouse, man. You're talking his location. He's that lower end Bergen County guy. This is his world, man. This is all that stuff. And Dave, you
well,
can
I went to
attest to
Saddlebrook
that
High
type of
School. Yeah.
right. And you can like that whole like looking for a head job and finding the right fit and all of those kind of things, right? Like sometimes getting down to that final three and maybe not being the guy that they end up picking. You know what I mean? I think that's all part of the process to grow as a coach in general, right? I mean, I think that's part of it. But to finally settle in, man, down in your own, at a school like that, where you can kind of now you can kind of start to do your thing and figure it out as you go.
Coach, what as far as like what your approach is going to be taking over the program? So, I'm not sure how they've been the last few years, but what's your approach coming in? What are you looking to do culture wise? Some of the things from that standpoint.
So yeah, I know that's a great question. I know everybody. I always laugh because that's like everyone's favorite word to throw around, the culture thing. And I always say culture is built on what you do, not what you say you're going to do. Right? Like everyone says we're going to have this culture and that culture and do this that, and it really comes down like it's funny because football hasn't changed at any level. Right? It always comes down to the fundamentals. It always comes down to doing the little things correctly. Um, you know, I'm going to preach to them. I mean, we're already doing 6 a.m. lifts, which is, we've had a good turnout and a lot of guys, small school, you have a lot of multi-sport athletes, but those guys are still getting there and finding ways to get in the weight room, which is really, that's
Yep.
a really good
It's
sign.
huge.
And just having a guy who was on staff there who I felt like did a great job. He's the one coach that's coming back, and he's been really kind of spearheading that thing. Mike Larkin is his name. He's done a really good job with the kids, and he's been there for a while. The kids have respect for him, so it's just one of those things where it's an easier transition. But I'm going to focus on just the small, like the little things, the details at practice. Making sure we're properly aligned, making sure that when we're game planning for things, we're not game planning for everything. We're game planning for what other teams do well and how are we gonna stop that stuff. And I the guys that I've coached under, they they've won a lot of games, and two, they don't they pay attention to the fine details, and that's kind of what's won them a lot of games. And I think that they demand excellence, and we're sometimes with kids they don't like that, but it's the challenge, and they're gonna I always say kids are going to adjust to what you give them, right? Like, so like if you lay down the discipline early and you give them that and you lay down the foundation, they're going to follow what you're doing as long as you can build that rapport with them and show them that you care. I mean, that's the biggest thing. A lot of guys will be like, I want to come in and, set the tone right away, but you can't demand something out of somebody unless you build a rapport with them and get to know them and build their trust. And then you can start demanding stuff out of them. But, again, just focusing on little things and details like that, I think that's kind of the way we're going to set our culture. Weight room is always key to the culture, and just being in there. Work is, I always say, like, when a kid tells you, hey, I'm lifting at my own gym,
Oh,
you go, like, in the fourth quarter, when you turn to your teammate right and left, and that guy was in there busting their butt with you, like, that's where you're going to turn around and go, hey, that's the guy I want to be next to. That's the guy I'm going to fight for, not the guy that was doing bicep curls in his own gym somewhere else. So
yeah, we know that too well. That line's always a good one, right? Like, hey, coach, don't worry, I'm working out. It's like, okay, buddy, like we got it. And you're taking your selfies and whatnot and posting it on Instagram. But like you said, like there's something to be said about, working out with teammates and whatnot. And then, we do it where I'm at too. We offer 2 sessions a day. You got a 5:30 lift, and then you got an afternoon lift. And there's just something to be said too about that morning lift where it's literally you in there with those other guys, and before the sun gets up, you know what I mean? Like and they're working, not to say that the afternoon session isn't just as intense, but there's just something different about when you can get those guys all in there at once.
There's no distraction.
100%. You're all in. Yep, exactly. And it just creates a good it creates a good habit for those kids in the future as well, when they get into their real lives and adults, whether they play football at the next level or not. Like, there's something to be said for the guys that get up earlier and get things done. I've always been a morning guy. It's just kind of how it works. It's kind of that early kind of, set your mind right for the whole day before the chaos hits. It's how many coach, what, like, one of the biggest things, right, obviously with you, to me, making this move is you're going from a bigger school in Sparta to a smaller school, size wise in Woodridge. What do you think the biggest adjustment will be for you, or maybe in how you're going to do things, from one to the other?
I think the one thing I know right out of the gate is a lot of guys are going to be playing both ways. The luxury of being at a bigger school, you get your running backs on the sideline,
yep,
while the defense is on the field. And, group one's kind of special because you get the quarterback playing both ways, and you get it's a different kind of feel. And coach, you would know because you coached it, and the numbers are not always in your favor, but I always say the quality of what you have, not the quantity, right? Like, you don't
absolutely.
You can have 60 kids in a program and 20 of them may be football players, right? So, like, just to have that, I think the adjustment is going to be just the way we practice and trying to get that look against one another. That's always
absolutely
thing. So, I have a lot of things set up for us this summer. We're going up to East Stroudsburg, the team camp.
Oh, that's awesome. Good for you, man. That's a great camp. There's a lot of really good teams in New Jersey that go up there and do that. And extremely beneficial. That's awesome to hear, man. That's great.
14 teams at the camp. It gives you that team.
Wow.
Oh yeah, it's grown, Dave. It's grown since, there's a lot of teams that go up there now and do it because it's a way to get like a nice little mini camp in. You get that away with only your team, so you can build some of that team chemistry. That's real. Oh, that's awesome, man. Yeah, and to obviously get approval from the top down to do it already shows that they're drinking the Kool-Aid a little bit. That's awesome, dude.
Really, really cool about Woodridge. One of the selling points to me was everybody was on board, and it was like, this is a place where, like, the athletic director, Mark Sinclair there, he's tremendous. I mean, he really is. He's like, I've been around a lot of good ADs. He's top notch. Like, he gets stuff done. He knows what he has a game plan. He has a vision, and
right.
He practices what he preaches. Like, he wants the same thing in that school. He preaches it to the kids every day, and he's not an AD that's, going to sit in the office and, not around the kids know him. He has a good face there. Like they see him around the building. Like it's really good. And like I said, they're just to get that approval and just the other things are just being mixing. We'll do some seven stuff in the summer. I like sevens to an extent, but sevens get sometimes they get to the point where in the summer where you got to find out really where you're at and like it gets tough sometimes when you're running sevens all summer and you gotta drill in your linebackers' heads to take the run reads first and not just bail into pass drops because they think that a pass is coming because they've been doing sevens all summer. So you got to break some habits, but I think we got a lot of good things planned for the kids, and that one's big. I think that's a good one. We're gonna do like a little, we're just gonna do a lot of stuff with, we're doing the Hasbrook Heights shootout, and we're just gonna, we're gonna do a lot of different things, and I think that will give us the looks we need. And when we get to the season, you got to be a little smarter about with numbers, Coach. I'm sure you know this. You got to be a little smarter about when you're doing contact and when you're not. Just because you lose a guy at that level, at that group one, it's you don't have two other guys to replace him. So, and that's going to be a
There's
challenge.
no doubt. There's no doubt about it. What are you doing to get more kids out? What's your kind of plan from that standpoint?
So I'll be in the building come April 22nd. So I was supposed to be next year, and they moved pretty quickly. So I'm sure that's awesome too. I mean, I'm super
That's
excited.
key. That's cool, man.
For me
That's
being
awesome.
in the building, they've never had their football coach in the building, which is, I think it's, that's to me, every place I interviewed, like that was kind of like the number one question. Like, am I going to be in the building? Because to me, like recruiting athletes is like, I've done that at the college level, junior college level. And I've done it, just in general. It's like, hey, this kid might be a great basketball player and he's got great feet and great hands. And like, you go up to him and you say, hey, you want to play some football? And he goes, first thing they always say is, I never played that sport before. I don't know anything about it. But the kind of beauty of it is like, hey, that's a sport where, you can walk into it as an athlete and really excel. And I even at the highest level, you see some of these guys who played high school basketball and played and then played football in college, or stellar basketball players and went on to be, so that stuff I'll be doing. I'll be hitting the hallways pretty hard, recruiting and just hoping
that cafeteria's got a lot of people in it, buddy.
Yeah.
Woodward used to always be a pretty good. I don't know if they still are. It used to be like a big basketball place. I don't know if it still is.
I think last year this past season, I think they were relatively young. I think a couple of years ago they had won the I want to say they won the conference. I don't know if they won I don't think they won the section, but they were very competitive in it. And I think they had a pretty good team. And that it's in those kind of places, Coach, and I'm sure you can attest to this, like it's ebbs and flows, right? Like you get your groups and then it's like, you hit the little patch in group one where it's the group you gotta piece together.
It's a little dry. It's a little dry.
But the upside too, the other, really good thing was the 8th grade group had won the whole thing. And they were very talented, a lot of pieces there to build with. And I think their 4th grade team, I forget, it's 8th and 4th, I believe, had won the whole thing. So they had 2 times where they won that Meadowlands League, which is very competitive. So, that was a really good sign. And the 8th graders that are coming in this year will be that team that won. So, that's an exciting thing to get a young group to kind of like, I always say like, it's an unfair assessment to coaches when they say like one and done, kind of deal. Like at the college, you got to give them at least a couple, like a 2 or 3 year window to let them lay their foundation. Cause when you walk into something, you're taking it on. And really that freshman group is the group that is kind of
right. You got to get a class through in my eyes, right?
Like
you should be allowed to at least get a class through
to see the product of what you're going to produce. So
correct.
But yeah,
now, Coach, tell me if I'm wrong. You have a basketball. You coach a little hoops, right?
I did, yeah. So I've been at Tech for a long time. So I've been there 9 years. So I actually am leaving my job now and switching is, it's like a bittersweet.
It's a little emotional.
Yeah, I've been there for a long time. I've met a lot of really good people. Coached hoops there, and again, it's a tough place. But last season we went 16-9. We were 1 game off of division. We had a great year, but again, I had a group that bought in, and they were all like, there was no me guys in that group. They were all unselfish, and it didn't matter who got what points on what night. And that was exciting to be around and be a part of. And, in the county where teams aren't used to losing to us, it was fun to beat those kind of schools and be on the other side of that and see the reactions of, hey, we're losing to Tech.
To Tech.
And
Right.
they didn't love that, but you know what? It was a cool thing. And I drilled that home to the boys. Like,
Right. You use that.
That's who I was as a player. And,
Yeah.
if I have that ammo, I'm going to use that to no end, because that's who I was. So I had to go through that just every day of my entire playing career. So just to be able to push that onto the kids, I could sell that till the cows come home. So.
Yeah, you don't. Well, listen, coach, you don't have to like drill that home with me. I was the same way, Group 1 guy. You know what I mean? Like, always doubted, always kind of like had to outwork people and do those kind of things. Anything I could use for fuel was something that I used. Look, we've spoke, a bunch over the years and whatnot. And when I saw that you were taking, and we spoke about taking this gig, the first thing I thought about was like, I knew you had been at Tech where, it is kind of like almost a Group 1 in the fact that like you're trying piece together year to year a team of maybe light numbers, or maybe not guys that are really like a basketball first guy or a sport first guy. So to make that transition from going there in hoops, and and then Sparta's obviously a different type of place. You're getting a gritty, tough type of kid that kind of matches up with the mentality that you were as a player. I thought that Woodridge was like a great fit for you in that. And then to get the alignment, because Coach Shiano at Rutgers talks about vertical alignment all the time, right? Like everything has to be, from the top down, and it's got to be, you need that support to be there for you. So to see that, they've already got you coming in the building early, right? Like you're like the morning lifts. Some places don't allow those things to happen. And then you got to hear that you're moving forward team camp wise. Like now you're going to get to like go away with your guys year one. I mean, those little pieces already, I'm sure, have the kids juiced, right? Because like you said, they haven't had a head coach in the building, and I think that's one of the most important things, right? It is extremely difficult to be the head football coach and not be in the building. Don't get me wrong. Totally, like it can totally happen. But I just think when you can get in there as the head man, like that changes a lot of things. Coach, how many, like, do you know your numbers based off how many guys you have doing multi-sports right now?
As far as like guys that are playing multiple, right now, probably about, I would say a little over a third of our team, maybe more. I think a lot of baseball guys. It's a baseball, baseball's been very successful there. And,
Right.
And that's what's the beauty for me. I think like being a multiple sport athlete in high school and doing that stuff. I know the benefits of it. A lot of people will sit there and preach and say, you gotta play one sport, and I always think that's the worst thing to teach a kid, to be honest. Like the one sport thing, like, kids get burnt out, they go away and like they go to college and it's like they don't have the same love for the game. And I think that switch of the season, I mean, there's a lot proven that like the injuries happen just from doing the same thing to your body over and over and over again.
Yep.
Like being able to play multiple sports, it gives you an opportunity to maybe the kid that isn't on the football team, that's on the baseball team, like you get that different kind of mesh and brotherhood. And I enjoy that stuff. I really do. And I will never ever like preach to a kid, do not play another sport. I will say there's things that you have to prioritize, but I would not say ever in my entire coaching career, ever tell a kid, don't go play baseball, don't go play basketball. I think all that stuff translates. And like the joke is like the kids would be like, well, I can't lift if I play basketball. Like there's that picture of Houston's basketball team and like they just
they're all yoked. They're yoked.
Dudes, like,
they look like a calendar, bro.
I think kids, the misconception of lifting is also like something that, I'm going to drive home. And that was something I said in the interview. Like, being in the weight room, that builds, like I said, the culture and that builds your toughness. And it teaches you when you want to quit, you don't do it and you find a way. And that's like,
Right.
that's the beauty of it. So,
Well, that's why the 6 a.m. lift is such a big deal, because they can play their sports and allows them to play 3 sports
Absolutely.
and still lift, and doesn't there's no conflicts from that standpoint. There's no excuses when they lift at 6 a.m. You
Right.
know,
Like there's no reason to not be like I can't get there. Like why? What do you have?
Yeah.
You don't have a doctor's
well,
appointment. You don't
Woodridge, you
have a
can walk
haircut.
there. At
Yeah.
Woodridge, you can just walk right to high school. Okay, it's not big.
There's no dentist appointment, doctor's
Yeah,
appointment.
I got no haircut. There's no
The
haircuts,
there's
right?
all
There's no
that
there's
stuff.
no it's grandma's birthday and we got to go
Yeah,
out to eat, right?
6
Like
a.m.
there's none of that.
You're
Yeah,
beating
we've
the
heard
eggs.
them all. We've heard them all.
No, I think everybody has. Every coach has, and it's just like,
Oh, absolutely. The haircut's the one that
and
gets
it's
me
funny
every
because you'll
time.
be like in your head as a coach, you're like, is this just me? And then you talk to other coaches, and you're like,
Yeah,
nah,
no,
you all hear it.
across the board. Yeah, you're like every.
The nice thing,
It's a
so
good.
they play. So Woodridge plays in the Meadowlands League in youth football. So that, and they have their own team and everything like that.
Yep.
That's huge. That's huge because
It's,
that's huge. That
and to
that
be honest, like the support from there is it's
Right.
tremendous. It really is. Like you said, like vertical alignment, like top to bottom, like that is a situation for a lot of guys. Like you walk into it and it's just great because you're getting it from the lower level, you're getting it from the top. It's all the way across. And I had already told them, like, I'm going to do stuff with the youth level. I'm going to
Yep.
be at games. I'm going to show my face. Obviously the recruiting aspect, you lose kids sometimes to the Catholic schools of the world, but that whole thing, I think always works itself out, right? Like I always say to kids, like, I can't force you to be here, right? Like if you want to be here, you're going to be here.
Yep.
I'm going to preach you on what we're going to do and how we're going to do it. But it would be selfish of me if you wanted to be somewhere else to try to hold you here, right? Like, and eventually,
Right.
Kids go and they test it out and they come back, and it's that whole thing. So I think kind of having a background in that and knowing how that works.
Yes.
You're recruiting kids at the college level, and like then a kid a week later that had just told you, like, I'm all in, coach, I'm here, and then a week later is like, hey, I'm going to Lackawanna, or I'm going here. You're like, okay, like, and I just think communication, being honest up front with people, I've always been that way. So I think that's kind of the game plan moving forward with all that as well. So.
yeah, no. The one nice thing about a small school is everybody in town. It's easy. It's a lot easier to communicate. To go youth program, they have middle. I'm assuming they have middle school,
Yeah.
and high school. To get everybody out there, and then you just got to make sure Hasbrook Heights doesn't go in kids that live in the border there. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So
they're pretty good. They've done a good job. They've done a really good job. But the NJIC is like, I like what they do, and I like how you get to the end of the season, you're playing the
Yeah. And then you get a little conference playoff game and all that kind of good shit.
It gives you a little incentive towards the end,
Yep.
wherever you're at in your season, it kind of gives you that kind of feel. And like, it's just, I think like, there's the teams in the NJIC that have been really good. Like coach, the Butlers of the world have been, very good. And, the Hasbrook Heights and, those teams have, they've established themselves. And that's kind of like, it's not going to happen overnight. And my game plan is to, I've been telling the kids, just keep our heads down and work, and the rest of this stuff will work itself out. To be honest, like it always does. Nothing beats hard work. It's the old cliche saying, but like it's the truth. Like you put your head down and work, and you control what you can control. Everything else will fall into place. Like you can't. I saw that thing with Marshall Falk. He said, "How you do one thing is how you do everything," and like that's the truth.
Absolutely.
Like, you're going to do one thing is how you're going to do everything. If you don't show up and you skip practices and you skip meetings and you skip things like that, well, what are you going to do when it comes down to it in the game? And how's your teammate going to rely on you? So like,
right.
I guess just put our head down and work. And, hopefully I'm back on one day talking to you guys, and we're at a point where we're up with the Butlers of the world and the Hasbrook Heights of the world. So.
No,
Well,
no,
I think your outlook, coach, is tremendous because you are in that area where you know you're talking about the private schools kind of rule the roost in terms of they just pick and choose whoever it is. But the outlook in terms of look, like if you're gonna to go. I don't want a guy here that's going to be talking about it or, hey, I'm here, but I really want to be there. Like, you get, like, you want to come here? Great. You don't? Okay, man. Like, no hard feelings. It's all good. And from college recruiting, and especially the way things are now, there's so many guys that bounce back after they go somewhere and think that it is what it is, and it's really not. And if you have that good relationship, they'll come right back to you. And then it's look, we don't hold grudges. Like, come on back. You can add to this, right? Now you can be back with your buddies, and now we're rocking and rolling, man. Because kids are different, right? Kids are a little different now. If had done that back in the day, dude, it would have been ostracized. Like, I'm never talking to you about it again. These dudes,
no way.
Right. Like later, dude, these guys are all buddies, man. They're still cool. Like, oh, he's going there, man. That's all good. Like, they'll embrace that guy coming back. Whereas to us, it was like, oh, hell no, but
it's amazing how kids are so much more like in competition, how much more like friendly they are with one another. And I think social media obviously created that world where like, they're looking at a guy and like, oh my God, he's so good. And they're looking at his highlights. And you're like, hey, we still got to go out and play. Like, it doesn't matter.
Right.
Like, competition's competition. You show up when the whistle blows. It's all that stuff goes out the window. What he did last week, that stuff's out the window. That's in the past. So,
no, there's no doubt. I mean, that's the biggest thing is getting them
bought in.
to move forward. Yeah, that and to get focused in that area, and that takes a little time, but it's just about getting the kids on the right page and getting the athletes in there. That's the key. Athletes make it all right. So it's about,
and I doubt
Dave, what Jimmy's and Joe's
at Jimmy's and Joe's, yeah.
When you
Jimmy's and Joe's, or what's the saying on that?
What's that about the Jimmys and the Joes? I mean,
look, when it comes down to it,
not the X's and the O's.
Right.
Yeah, that's it.
Have the players, it makes a whole big difference. But like I did deal, like I said, I dealt with that a little bit at Tech too, where kids were, you can go there shared time as a shop, which is like, so you get a kid who's walking around the hallway and it's like,
okay,
he's wearing a freaking Kittatinny jacket, and you're like, dude, you're 250 pounds. What are you doing? Like, come play football here. And he's like, nah, I want to stay in my sending district. And like, they have that option to do that. And once they pick one, they have to go all into that. Like you guys brought those guys up, and like they do a really, like it's a, Coach Leach was there for a while. And I don't know if you know much about Coach Leach, but he did a great job when he was there, and Coach Stellingworth's there now. And it is not an easy place to coach, and they've done a really good job. And Gruber is on staff, and those guys, they've been there forever. So they know the outlook of the school. It's just, you get that all the time. So they're always, I think what you were talking about earlier too, like we always had to look, and I did that a little bit at Sparta, and they never had to do that, but I brought it in going like, hey, if, our corner goes down here, what's our option?
Right.
Who removed like, Tech? It was like, hey, we might have to move the safety down the corner and then plug a kid who's just our best athlete and say, you just got to cover hash to hash and hopefully kind of deal. But that stuff I think will help me. And, through all that, just the Tech experience was a really good one. It was a lot of challenges as a coach, but it made me a better coach for sure. So.
Well, I'll tell guys all the time. I said, look, if you can coach Group 1, then you can coach, dude. Because, your best player, he's probably your quarterback. He's your safety. He's your punt returner. He's your kick returner. He's the punter. He's the kicker. He's probably trying to freaking snap it to himself and kick it. I mean, Group 1 is tough. And guys that can figure out how to get the most out of their players, how to run practice when you don't have enough guys to get a good look, right? Where, you're going half line or, it's just those little things that you have to figure out that some of these bigger schools, when there's, 70, 80 dudes on a roster and you just have a Rolodex of players, you're like you said, you're talking one injury, man, and we're shifting all the pieces on the board to just try and make it work. And, I think that the guys that can do that at a group one, like I said, they're really coaching. You know what I mean? Because guys want to talk about, oh, you're coaching here, you're coaching there, and it's like, yeah, dude, like the backup at this place, the fourth string guy at this place would be a starter if he wasn't there. You know what I mean? So you really got to get creative with your stuff. And look, you've coached under a lot of really good guys that like have been around for a long time. I mean, Lenape Valley, that experience with Coach Smolin is a freaking, football coaching 101 every day. You're talking about a legend, right? And then, Frank has done it a long time at Sparta and really kind of taken that place to, and sustaining, right? Because I think that's the biggest part of, when you're coaching. Like anybody can roll in there and win 1 year or two, right? Like that's easy. But when you can sustain winning and you're that in the playoffs every year, I always tell this is how you judge it, right, Coach? The poster that goes up preseason in August with the schedule on it and all the seniors and stuff. When the dates are posted, if it says NJSIA round 1 playoffs, you're good to go. It's when it says consolation game that you got a problem. Like that's where we're already trying to tweak things and go. But I think you got a lot of things in line, Coach. I'm excited. I'm excited to watch you because, like you said, that conference does things a little different than anybody else in the state in terms of how they, you get to the end of the season and now it's like, hey, the top 4 and now we're playing a little bit of a playoff like conference championship. And now look, you see a lot of those teams in that smaller group 1 conference make the playoffs, and that's how I think you judge it, right? Like how many teams from a conference go in to the playoffs, and they have a lot of teams that do it, and they're competitive. So look, like you said, you're gonna dial it up, you're gonna have to be ready to go, but it's not an overnight thing. You got to work and build and trust in it what it is and control what you can control and then just move ahead.
Yeah, I think the conference itself is, so we picked up a week 0 game, which is, I'm excited about because it's Labor Day weekend, so it's that Thursday of Labor Day weekend. We got Lodi,
which is awesome.
Yeah, it's great. I mean, and a lot of guys are like, you're crazy picking up week 0, but you know what? Like, you want to see where you're at and you want to get to that point, and what better way to do that than,
Well, they think you're crazy because it's year 1 and
right.
You got to install an offense, a defense, and your culture. And look, what people don't understand is that week 0, by the time, for all the work that all of us do now in the summer, because look, you tell me if I'm wrong or not, but majority of teams in the state now, the second that track thing is that track is over, dude, you're rocking and rolling. You're going. Like we're hitting the ground.
Every coach would be lying to you if they told you differently.
Right. They're full of shit, dude, if they're not. You know what I'm saying? Some guys are out there in full pads ready to go, like banging. So
there's not a coach in the state that would tell you differently.
And that's what used to be different, right? Because, you didn't have that contact with your players until August where camp really mattered. Now you're doing stuff 3-4 days a week, right? And by the time you get to actually when it's an acclimation period and you're going through all that and you get a scrimmage underneath your belt, like week 0, guys are ready to go. Like we didn't play a week 0 game this year and it hurt us. The other team we were facing week 1 played a week 0. They got the kinks out, the special teams substitution errors, the first true live kickoff of the season, right? Where you're just holding your breath going, oh shit, we haven't run down on kickoff all of camp, right? So, dude, all of that stuff, man, stuff you can't get in a scrimmage no matter what and how you do it. So I love it that you're jumping right into it. Now, are you going, you're setting it, you're going to do some 7-on-7s and do all that kind of stuff too? Like they do a great job in Bergen County of setting some of those things up. So you actually have like options really to go and compete.
And, I know a couple coaches have reached out too. I also had said to them like, hey, with the camp, I got to be careful because, we're going up to that camp and not that the camp is like to a, overly exhausting or like physically, I mean, it is. It's exhausting to an extent, but like
It's what it's supposed to be.
right, it's exactly it gets the purpose done, and like you're
Right.
playing. You do some 11s where it's like your pads are on, and you're it's not like live bring to the ground, but you're getting that thud period where you're getting that kind of that like initial kink of like a kid knows what it feels like again to get hit and like a little bit. So I think it's great, and I'm excited about that. But they do a great job, and our schedule. Like I said, I told the kids we're gonna take it one game at a time, and you know, you go from Lodi to Elmwood Park, and then we play St. Mary's, which everyone is
Oh,
about. Which listen, my big thing is like let's not look at that game yet. Let's get to that game, and
no, you got to play the next game on the schedule.
we'll figure out that stuff when we get there. And a lot of these schools, I'm just excited because it's good competition, and I've coached against some really good schools of the Ramapos of the world,
Oh, yeah.
the West Forces of the world. So like, I've been through the gauntlet a little bit, so I'm just excited to I'm excited to get a different kind of feel for this, and I do love the feeling of like the small school feel and the
It's
football.
awesome.
It's just like it's different. It's a different feel. It really is, and I'm
And you kind of had that at Sparta too, even being a bigger school, the town itself, because of how Sussex County is, where things are spread out. But Sussex is a very football-oriented, all-in type of place, which is really cool to see it. And now you want to get down to Friday Night Lights down in Bergen County. I mean, now you're talking about, and Dave's been a part of it. It becomes like this is what we're doing on Friday night. I mean, you drive by Hasbrook Heights on a Friday night in the fall, dude. That place is rocking right off. You know what I mean? I mean, it just kind of is what it is. So, and that conference is like that, which is really cool to see it back.
Woodridge gets a very good turnout on Friday nights. So
right.
I'm pumped about that too. I mean, I think, even stuff with the social media, just getting kids excited about it. Like that's the stuff, that's the world we live in, right? Like they love it. They get juiced, they get pumped about it. It's just the way
everything.
Look,
everything.
I came from old school coaches and old school guys, but sometimes you got to adapt, and that's kind of the wave of where we're going with everything. So, and the kids love it and they get excited. As long as you can get everybody excited in the school, I think that's also key. Like to have me being in the building, like
huge
kid in class and say, "Hey, I'll give you 5 extra points on your quiz if
you're coming to the game."
Up to a game, that kind of deal. Like that's the stuff that I've learned over the years. That's a really key in education. That's sometimes missing. A lot of people, show
Absolutely.
up in from 7:30 to 2:30, and they're out the door. And it's like there's so many other things you can do for a building and be a part of it, and community and culture and building that. And you want to talk, we talked about that earlier with the culture. That's a big way to do it too. Just being in the building and showing your pride for the school and being around people.
Right.
And that stuff goes a long way. So,
or like you said, coach, you're going to show your face, right? So you have a soccer girl in class and all of a sudden, like you show up to her game, like you see them light up. It doesn't matter. They don't know if you're there for the whole game, dude. You just, as long as they see you, it's a totally different type of, whatever. I mean, I used to put the best, the soccer girls, the field hockey girls, the volleyball girls, like they would be my water girls, right? And or my stat girls. Like when you have a good football season, the entire school year changes. And people can argue with me about whatever. Everybody judges a high school by what football team's record.
I say this all the time. You take the football team away from the University of Alabama, that's just a school out in Tuscaloosa that
it's just what it is.
Knows about, right? Like football is, people get and people think I'm biased sometimes with that, but football is it's a great sport. It teaches you so many life lessons that, you'll never ever get from any other thing in your life. But it just the way it presents itself and it demands the most, to be completely honest. Like, you're taking over the football program. I remember talking to, Frank about it as I had talked to him about wanting to be a head coach. And he's like, you're behind closed doors right now. You don't see, X, Y, and Z. And like,
right.
You got to deal with this kid when he doesn't do something right in class or this, that, and the other.
You're getting emails now, right? Like the emails are going to you now. Like they're not going. Like when you're a coordinator or an assistant coach, coach, why am I not playing? Well, there's the head coach, buddy. You go talk to him. Now it's like, all right, now the fingers are pointed at you, exactly. and you got to have, you know what I mean, like developing a staff, like again, vertical alignment, like those guys got to buy in just as much as, because you can preach and do whatever, but if you now have an assistant coach that's not all on board, like it's real quick to watch that thing turn because now one kid, he talks to that coach and it's this and it's that. And it's like, look, it's got to be buy-in from everybody across the board, that's really key and important. But like I said, you've seen it at the highest level in terms of the guys you've been with or coached under. Now it's just, look, now it's, says your name in the paper when the loss happens, right? It's not, it's like, hey, it's not to somebody else.
And I've said that, like, go ahead, coach. I'm sorry.
Oh yeah. I was just say, what is, as far as like some of the like core key things that you think have to get done for your program, before you guys start the season to really start getting you in the path that you want them to be on?
I think first and foremost, the thing that we're basically done with, I don't want to jinx it. We're got one more spot to fill, and then I'm going to kind of talk about who's there. But coaching staff is huge. I think that's one of the biggest things because, like Coach said, you got to have all those guys aligned with you. And I've interviewed guys. I went through a lot of different guys, and the biggest thing to me was like what Coach kind of brought up the points. Like, listen, you can know football, you can draw all this stuff on a board, but when stuff goes south, because at some point in the game, you're going to hit it.
Oh, it's
season, you're going to hit that point. When stuff goes south, we can't be in a coaching room with guys that are, I know more than you, and I've been around this long enough. Like, everybody's got to be on the same page, and if they're not, it's got to be, we got to align ourselves to be on the same page. And so a lot of guys that I've brought on, I think they're all guys that I feel like have been coached that way, went through those kind of systems that way. And I think they're going to do a tremendous job for our kids. And that's a key thing to me, just because the coaching staff is going to kind of drive home. You don't ever want to, all those good coaches I was around, they delegated and they let coaches coach. They didn't micromanage coaches. They didn't do that kind of stuff. They were around guys and they were like, hey, we're going to basically let you do your thing. And we're going to trust that we brought you on board for the right reasons. And, a couple other things as far as, just being like, again, getting in the building is going to be key. We're doing a fundraiser come June 12th, like a bench-a-thon, to raise some money for the program. We'll get kids excited.
That's cool.
We're not
always loved those, right? Always loved those.
Out thing. We're just gonna, we're gonna do the reps,
baby.
Get guys going and excited, and I think that stuff. And I'm gonna try to do stuff within the community. I think all those things aligning will help us, be successful. As far as like system wise, I've been a DC for 9 years, and it's funny. Every year I've implemented the defense. This might sound crazy, but in a different way. I've tweaked
100%.
something or did something, and I'm like, you know what? That didn't work out really well, or this didn't work out really well, and I got to change this. And I think those kind of things, and getting the system in place and terminology. It's funny because everyone wants to be the next
verbiage
greatest coach, like, and know all these things. It's like, it's high school football. You got to keep it simple. Like, if the kids don't know it, it doesn't matter. Like, your verbiage. If the kids don't get your verbiage, then you got to change it. And like, I've had teams where I won't say some of the stuff they've had to say, but for calls, but it was like, hey, it clicks in my.
You got to make it their own. You got to let them own it a little bit, right?
Right,
like
hey,
calls.
If you're going to remember this as cover 2, then cool. Then
okay, that's it. I do the same thing with our signals, right? Like, I let them make up the signals. Sometimes we're like, dude, you got to like relax here. Like, we ain't doing that signal, but you got to let them be a part of it. I think that's key now with the kid we're coaching, because they're from the why generation, right? Like, they ask why. We didn't ask why. Our coach said run through a wall. We ran through a wall. That's just how it was, right? They want to know why, and they want to be a part of it, or at least you got to make them feel like they're a part of it. So if you can just, even like the verbiage, give them a little piece of that. All the signals that we do, we run it. Hey, what do you want to do for this? I was thinking this. Oh, no, coach, use this. Okay, cool. You guys, because it makes it easier for them. Like you said, like, the less thinking, the faster they're going to play. And the more they're like, they'll get there, they'll do it. I think that's an excellent point you brought up, Coach. Like, but also, these guys that are, this is my system, this is what we do, you got to fit it to what you have. And if constantly evolving and tweaking and going to clinics and talking to other coaches. It's one of the biggest mistakes. I wouldn't say it was a mistake, but when I first got into coaching, I was always, I'd be at a clinic and I'm like, why am I going to go see another high school guy? Like, I don't want to do that. And then at the end of the day, that's where you get the most stuff from, because they've been through it and they're on that level. You can go to an NFL guy or a college guy and they're like, hey, do this, and you're like, I can't do that. I don't have the kids to do that shit.
6'4" linebacker.
I don't have a safety that could go from the hash to the opposite hash to the sideline and bring a guy off the right.
Coach,
So
sure
just talking to other high school coaches, dude, and we've done it because we have them on this show, whether they're from different states or, I mean, hell, we've had youth coaches on here. You can take something from everybody. And the coaches that constantly do that and tweak things to what they have, ultimately, I think have the more success than others. Like, yeah.
It's not, I say to the kids all the time, it's not a me sport. If it was, there's obviously your goals and things as an individual you want to accomplish, but it's never going to be a me sport. It's never about you. It's about the bigger picture. And Coach, I'm sure, at your years at Powell Park, like you can attest to, when you go to these clinics and the guy's like, we could, like Coach was saying, you could do X, Y, and Z, but then you're like, wait a minute, I don't have that dude running around anywhere. So how am I doing this? And I just think I think those, like you said, the smaller schools, it really teaches you how to coach, and you get put in a lot of different scenarios, as far as not even as far as like gameplay, as far as like practices and facilities and what you can use and what you can't use. And, obviously I'm fortunate enough at Woodridge where they just built a really nice complex across town. Soccer, everybody kind of goes over there, and football has that field. And I just think that's a really, really cool thing. I'm pumped about that as well.
Yeah. One of the things I learned from being in that is, you got to cultivate like the players that you want to get developed in your system. And then you got to adapt constantly. That's like, you got to adapt. And you may have this guy that can do this, and you have this guy that can do that, and it might take two players to make one type of deal. And like I used to have like this guy was my jet guy, and this guy was my inside runner, and this guy was, and we used to kind of that's how we would do it. This guy quarterback was my dual. I used to play with two quarterbacks a lot, dual threat, and this guy was more of my everything guy. And
well, Dave, that's where you talked about that. Like one of the first things you taught me, like when I was coaching with Dave, was, look, dude, like I don't care, like these guys might be your quarterback, but like you take the next athlete and he takes snaps at the beginning of practice every day, regardless, dude. Like regardless.
I already told the guy who's going to be doing our offense, I already told him, I said, hey, here's your starter, or here's your, on paper, I don't want to say starter, but here's your guy that played the majority of the snaps last year. You got to find two other guys that are going to take snaps, because if anything happens,
you don't know.
Same thing with your center. We're going to be spread, so you got to find guys that can snap the ball. And if we can't do that, and we got to adjust and have to go under center, then we got to do that. But you got to adjust, and then like you said, like you just don't know what's going to happen. But it does make you a better coach. You're always thinking ahead. You're always thinking of next scenario, next thing, what's going to happen. And I enjoy that part of it. And I think Group 1 is special only because, you're getting so much buy-in from the school, because it's a smaller school, and it's, it's just a really different feel. I mean, where Butler has been really good for years, and you go to a game at Butler and it's cool. I mean, look at it's awesome. It's good, it's a good environment, and that's kind of,
it's a cult, bro. It's a cult. Don't worry, it's a cult. Dave's seen it. Dave has seen it just by, we had Coach Mickens on, we've had Coach Luciani on, and the viewership, Dave was like, "Oh, what the hell?" I'm like, "Dave, it's a cult. Everybody in the town probably watched it, knowing that these guys were on." Like, it's also geographically a different type of place because you don't go to Butler unless you're going to Butler. You don't just, it's not one of those towns you just drive through and it is what it is. But like I said, I always said I was very fortunate, and it's rare. Dave and I are both Group 1 guys with similar type experiences of when we were there, like we had to be the guy, right? Like we did a lot of things and wore a lot of hats across the board for multiple sports because that's just how it goes at those schools, right? And it's you don't have the luxury of hey, this guy's only does this or plays this, and you could two platoon and figure that stuff out. But like I said, that's why I call Group 1 guys like real coaches. Like they're really coaching, dude, because they're figuring shit out. Whether it's half line, whether it's this, whether it's that. But I will tell you one piece of advice if I'm in a place to give advice at any means, because I've never had an original idea in my life. I've stolen everything I've ever used. If you can get a budget and purchase the go routes, go do it, bro, because it will make your life amazing, dude. You're talking about a little iPhone that's, now we're not holding up binders for the scout team anymore.
To be completely honest with you, I think they have it already. I think
there you go. I'm telling you, Coach, amazing.
I have to check it out, but I'm almost positive they'd said it was a little.
That's also a hopeless plug to get Go Route to sponsor this show. But listen, I'm just telling you, dude, they are game changers. Dave's going to use them this year with his he's going to use them with his youth team, dude. Unbelievable, bro. Unbelievable.
One of the things first of all, I got the QB thing from DJ Nymphius when he was at Glen Rock, way before your time. But when he was at Glen Rock. And then he came to when he took over at Riverdale. I coached with him a couple times as an assistant, and he said to me, "You have to have a quarterback in every grade, and then you have to have an athlete or two that if something happens, that guy can go in and run the offense, and even if he's a wildcat guy." From that point forward, it just made sense. Like I never had a quarterback problem. People are like, how do kid goes down, you have another guy just goes right in. It's like, because this kid's always taking reps. I've told this story. I had this kid, Adiami Da Silva, that went to Villanova as a quarterback.
Stud.
And when he was a junior, the kid who was my senior running back who played at Montclair State, Taj Huggins, he was a receiver there. Taj had to play quarterback as a sophomore. He was like, he was forced into it, right? Even though he was a running back, and that kid was a 4-year starter for me. But his senior year, he was the tailback, but he had all the way from the time he was a freshman, always taking snaps. He always did it in practice. He always ran wildcat. He could always throw flood concept. Didn't have like a rocket arm, but he could do a lot of the basics, throw slants, and what's funny is Da Silva goes down in the I think it was against Weehawken. This is when Nascimento was there. He goes down and Da Silva throws a touchdown right away. We go up, and then I guess he got hit as he threw it, went down, came out. He's like, I'm like, and this Huggins goes in. Huggins comes in. He runs. I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna run like zone read, power read with him, and he takes the first play in zone read. I knew he was gonna pull it because I know he wasn't giving the ball.
Hell no, Dave. He's been waiting for that ball the whole game. Hell no.
He goes 60. Well, he's used to getting a tailback, but he goes 60 yards for a touchdown.
That's what I'm saying.
He missed playing quarterback, so he goes 60 yards for a touchdown, and all of a sudden, I turn around and Da Silva's right next to me, and he's like, "I'm not letting him fucking take my position." I'm like, I said, go back. And Huggins was like, come on. He's like, I only get one snap at Q. I'm like, but that's what it became. So like they all knew it. Like the guy. So like our running back practices, a lot of times it was our running backs or like a big receiver that would be it. And those guys could take the snaps. They could do the basics. I mean, the year we went to the state championship, I actually used 3 quarterbacks that year. And the guy who got us to the championship wasn't even De Silva. He was young. He was a sophomore. We used this kid Charles Simons, and he just ran Wildcat for like 250. So it's crazy, and that's Group 1's crazy like that. Like
Yeah.
when
you never know.
when you get through a season, and you are able to have a guy like that's a
That
guy.
made it through, Dave, right? Like healthy. Yeah. Shit.
But a lot of times you're taking your athletes and just figuring out how the hell you use all these athletes and just, I used to be like, yo, you guys, like, we're all teammates. We all block for each other. We all help each other. We don't know who's going to play what. We don't know who's going to get the ball. And, like our goal is to have as many guys with 10 touchdowns as possible. Like if we could do that, if we got multiple guys with 10 touchdowns, we're going to be good. And they would,
hell yeah.
yeah, like they would take. They
all buy into it, right? Because it's like, hey, it might be me today, it might be you today, but if we win, who the hell cares, right? And my head coach right now, he's got a great line. He uses it all the time. He's like, look, good teams are led by coaches. Great teams are led by players, right? Like if I tell a guy he's got to be in the weight room 4 days a week, it's like, hey, coach, kick rocks, right? But if he gets it from his teammate and this teammate and that teammate, well, he's probably going to be in there. You know what I mean? You got a better shot with that. So once you can get that buy-in for all those guys that want to see each other do well, and that's, it's a lot harder, I think, nowadays because it is a me generation and all they see on social media is, this guy's leaving for this NIL deal or, he can get more money going here. And, whereas those guys that used to stay together and be a group, like kind of did some different things. The team thing, right? It's kind of different now, right? And football is the ultimate team game, dude. Like you can't do something well unless the other guy does his job. And that job might be, not that not that glamorous, dude. You know what I mean? So
yeah, you're just
like,
yeah, that's like, but like you said, like like right now, the kids, it's all about the easy way out, the excuse. That's what it's, and it's it's partially it's not their fault in the sense because they see it all.
It's all they've seen,
and that's all they know. And it's like, hey, well,
right?
If things get tough, I can just leave somewhere else. And like to me, like that's huge. Like when you get buy-in on that part, that's the part that's going to win you games. Like when you challenge teams, like you want to put teams in positions that they're not comfortable being in. Like that those are things like even from the defensive end, what I do is like I like putting teams in positions where they may not have seen this look, and it's like, how are we blocking this and how are we doing this? And then the O-line guy's got to be up all night trying to figure out all the different things we're going to send at them. So, I treat defense. I laugh because everyone was like, you're going to go to the offense side of the ball. And the more I thought about it, I could never go because it was like, I'm a defensive guy through and through. And like,
right.
I call defense very similar to the way guys call offense. It's like, I'm aggressive. I go after people. I want to see when you're most uncomfortable, what are you going to do and how's your kid going to react? Like quarterbacks, high school quarterbacks, there's not many across the board that you're going to see throughout a year that are going to be able to deliver a ball down the field with
consistently.
Yeah, consistently. Exactly. They may get one or two, but that's kind of the mentality of and the approach.
Death by paper cut, coach. Death by paper cut. Right? Because
you're playing a better team. Would you rather die the slow death or go down? And I'm the
look, because it was always my philosophy. When I was coaching defense for Dave and whatnot, and it was like, look, man, keep it in front, eliminate explosives because not many high school teams can go 10, 12 play yard drives and put that all together. And if they can, then shit, kudos to them. They're, you know what I mean? Like they got it rolling, but not many high school guys someone's going to make a mistake. Someone's jumping off sides, right? Like somebody's going to miss a block. They're going to let them make the mistake, not us, right? Like we just have to play good, solid, sound defense. And I think that's all. I say it all the time. Like, if they don't score, we win. Like, it's really what it comes down to, right? Everybody wants to talk about explosive offenses and all those kind of things. Like, that's great. Like, look, at the end of the day, I got no problem winning 49-48. But, like, hey, at the end of the day, defense is still going to win you majority of your games any way you want to spin it. So,
and you say that, it's funny because I've had defenses, even when I was at the college, they would come off and be like, like we'd just be on the field, then we get back on the field and they're pissed off.
Oh, hell yeah.
And like, coach, whatever the offense this. And I'm like, every meeting, every time, all I would preach to them was like, hey, we can control. They don't score, they don't win. It doesn't matter
exactly
what the offense is doing. We don't worry about we worry about what we're doing on our side of the ball. And like,
shit. When I was at, and same thing. When I was at Montclair State, man, we were just praying. Score 21, bro. Score 14 because we're good. We'll hold them to. We'll get them to 7, 14, please, dude. Just anything. That's what we'll do. Because like that was my time when I was at Montclair. Was 06, 07, 08 season. Right, I'm sorry. 05, 06, 07 were the seasons I played there. And we were defense first, bro. And it was kind of just like, look, we're gonna keep it to a low scoring game. We're gonna win special teams across the board. And then, hey, if the offense scores, that's great. That's a bonus to us. It makes our job easier, but we're gonna bend, not break, and that's how we're gonna win games. And that's a mentality that has to be instilled in the kids in the weight room in the winter, right? Like in February when there's no game in sight and it's cold as shit and there's a couple inches of snow and you might have a delayed opening, but you're like, yo, we still got to lift. Like, that's different. You know what I mean?
You're preparing yourself for the moment. You're preparing yourself for that moment when you walk on the field. One of the things I've done a lot with my seniors, and I think it's really cool, I tell them opening night, I always tell them when you run out on the field for the first time in your senior year, opening night, look around, take a deep breath, and just take everything in.
Enjoy it.
Life you're never getting back ever.
Nope.
You'll never simulate that feeling ever again. And most of us coach to try to get it.
That's why I tell them. That's why I'm freaking 38, bro, coaching for no money and like dealing with your crazy ass as a kid. Like, you know what I mean? Like, think about it. Like, did anybody want to coach? Like, I know nobody wanted to. Like, I wouldn't have wanted to coach me at that age, dude. Like, you know what I'm saying? But we're still doing it for that reason.
That's why we all coach. I mean, you want to try to get that itch back, but you just can't simulate it. It's just not possible.
So. Dave's coaching his kids team at 9 years old, bro. If Dave had told me 5 years ago when we came down here that he would have been coaching 9-year-olds, dude, like I just can't. And I give him a lot of credit because that shit, we're talking about Group 1 coaches coaching. That youth stuff is wild, and he does a great job with his kids.
Ball game, yeah.
It's crazy. It's a different ball game, man. Like he should be touring around the country doing clinics on that shit as to how do you handle this stuff because it's wild. But look, football is football at the end of the day, man. We're all junkies for it, and that's just what it is.
Coach, it's been great having you on. It really is. It's cool hearing talking to somebody who's coaching at NJIC. I miss coaching up there. It was a lot of fun. It was a lot of trials and tribulations, but it was a lot of fun at the same time. And
a lot of gray hairs, Dave. You got a lot of gray hairs from that gig.
You learn to deal with like a lot of different things. Like it makes you a better coach. You deal with failure. When you get success, it's like I could say that like it really is a development project, and it's rewarding at there's nothing more rewarding because it really is you building a foundation. And, I've coached obviously because I coach like 7-on-7 and stuff with older kids. And, you get athletes that are ready made. You kind of just have to point them in the right direction, and let them
Not
go.
Screw it up. Don't screw it up.
Right. Don't screw them up. But like you're in there and you're developing kids. You're seeing what each kid's talent is. Try to maximize it. Try to figure out how that works in the scheme. Oh, by the way, Johnny's hurt this week. Shoot, where do we put this person now? He's going from guard to tackle. The guy who's my middle linebacker now's got to play nose guard or 3-tech.
Oh yeah.
But those things are good because you got to think on your feet, and it makes you a better coach. And like a lot of the guys I coach with, like me and DJ talk about it all the time. Like that's coaching at that the Group 1 level, like, taught you so much, and it helped you when you started to get the athletes. You really, as you build it, you really know what to do with the pieces because of it, and you know how to adapt, and it's cool, and it makes you smart scheme wise, man. It makes you smart,
Yeah.
because you got to figure things out. Like, I've, over the years, I've run some wacky shit, and it's worked, and
Some
it,
guys would look at it and be like, "What are you doing?" Right? Like some of the and look at the end of the day, like talking about a sound defense across the board, dude. It's high school football, right? Like Dave's put together some wild shit. I've had it, and then you put it all together, and you're like, "Well, shit, it worked." Like, you know what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, and Dave attests to this. We talk about this all the time. You can get in high school football if you have guys that care, that give effort, and give you their best and understand their role within it, you can do some good things with lesser athletes or lesser caliber players if you have that buy-in. Because I mean, we've seen some wild shit and we're like, wait, that guy had 10 tackles today? Like, holy shit, you're right?
Yeah,
Like, what the hell?
I've been around
Okay.
that. I totally get that part. So
No doubt. All right, Coach. Have a
Coach,
great weekend. Enjoy, and
yeah, you too, guys.
good luck, buddy. We'll talk soon. You need anything, let us know, man. Hopefully, we're talking to you again with a lot of success under the belt. So appreciate you taking the time, man. Glad I got you on a spring break action. It's awesome.
Yeah. Thank you, guys. I appreciate it. Have a good one. All
have
right.
a great day.
Good luck, buddy.
All right, bye. All right, excellent show. Excellent, good
Dude,
stuff.
does it get you excited to see like those teams that were around like where you are? Like you see a guy like that take over one of those programs. Like, does that get you juiced to see like those guys at least? And then you hear he has the buy-in from up top down. When you look at it, and for a while it was like, oh man, like that team used to be good. You know what I'm saying? Or you see those teams like having to co-op, or they just fall off, and there's like no longer is a team, right? Like, does that juice you up a little bit?
Yeah, well, Hasbrook Heights. I thought there was a time when Woodridge and Hasbrook Heights were together. Maybe they were. No, they're wrestling. That's wrestling.
Okay.
So, but they've stayed apart in football. Like, there are some places that
Yeah, like Midland Park.
Midland Park's gone. Midland Park's part of Woodridge.
Right.
Waldwick.
Right.
And I think Powell Park separated.
Yes, there's two separate now, Dave. They have their own team now.
Only a football, I don't think. Right. So it's just Powell, which is sad because the Edgewater kids.
You said that all the time. You always say that. You always said that.
Now I don't know what they're doing.
Somebody's happy to have them though.
Adiyami De Silva, Edgewater. JoJo Robinson, Edgewater. John Huggins, Edgewater. Let's see. Charles Simons, Edgewater. His brother Richard Simons, Edgewater. Almost all. Trying to think. There was almost all of the like.
Who was the other one? St. Hilaire?
St. Hilaire was Powell Park. They were Powell Park. They were all the St. Hilaire brothers. The two St. Hilaire brothers I had were both Powell Park. Robert Then was Powell Park. He was a bullet. He's like the all-time leading tackler that nobody even knows. He has like 300 and
holy shit,
like 350 tackles in his career.
Are you in as a 3-year starter?
Yeah, he did. His freshman year, he had 60 something. His
Jesus Christ,
sophomore year, he was 120.
That's ridiculous.
His junior year was like 107 or 110, something like that. And his
my God,
year, he had an ACL injury his senior year, but he played the whole year with it, and he still had like 80 or 90 or something, 85, 90.
Jesus.
Yeah, what is that? I mean, 140.
That's stupid. Yeah, it's not. That's just stupid.
His numbers. How he's not in the Powell Park Hall of Fame? It's crazy. I got to resubmit him because his numbers are great. And he was really our jet guy. He was a great jet guy, but he
ACL.
He could only run jet. I can't remember which side it was. He
certain direction because he could only plant on the one leg that wasn't
right or left. I can't remember which one it was, right or left. But we used to flip him to run jet. So he was a
nobody picked up on it.
Some people did, but luckily we were able. Like over the years, that place was different. Like I didn't do any of the things I did there or anywhere else really, but we lined it up like our base set, which by the time we get the Red Bank, 2x2, you know what I mean. But it was really the spread option
Condensed.
set. It was the two wings, and we just spread them out. But it was.
Right, like your slot receivers were your wings. Like that's what you just widened them out.
That's what I did. So and then I would have like a jet guy for the right, a jet guy for the left. The middle guy was our single back or our full back. And then when we did a lot of eye back, believe it or not. So we would go and we would take.
Really?
Yeah, we did a lot of offset eye.
Offset eye, or true
pistol offset eye.
Gun.
Pistol, 3.5 yards. So we would run counter power blast, pitch sweep.
Counter pull and guard only, or GT?
Pulling guard, kick out, down block. And then we'd run counter, and the
little jab step action.
Jab step, dude. So
I miss teaching the jab step, man. I miss for the timing.
Yeah, we did jab step, and I never loved it, but we would hit it for touch. We hit it for a touchdown against Cranford. But
anytime, dude. I think when you can get that guard giddy up and going, bro, and kicking and going and do, you got down, like, and dude, there's something about running the ball when there's a daddy in front of you going and like you see that block happen and you're like, dude, I'm out. You know what I mean? And it doesn't have to be a pancake. It doesn't just get like chip that dude, the crease and you had backs that were like, they could hit it and go, which was awesome, dude.
Good backs. We had huge backs, big.
Yeah, you always had big dudes.
Well, we didn't always, but we got big dude. And back then, by the time we started to get good, we had big lines too. So for that level,
could move.
Well, NJIC that was mostly Group 1 and Group 2. But when we had to play playoffs, we had to play Group 3. So that was a different animal. But
look, you made that run. You had that run. Like who did you beat in the first round?
The year we went to the championship, we beat Rahway.
And then you beat Cranford.
Then we beat Cranford. That was a big upset.
After you went down early, right?
No, Cranford. They scored the first touchdown, 7-0, and then we reeled off 35 straight points.
And then you saw who in the finals?
And then we saw Summit smacked us. So
who was the head coach of Summit?
We didn't get in. We didn't score in the first half twice inside the 10. We didn't get it. We didn't get any points out of it.
Was that Liberato or was that the guy after him?
Liberato, and he had kids that went one way, and we did not. We only had a few. So
Coach Liberato was a dog, bro. When he was at Hanover Park,
score the first, but he was up 7-0 at halftime, and like I said, I knew we were in trouble. Came in there, and I was like, all right. Usually I'd be fired up when we were down or something, and they were shot. I realized, oh my God, they're giving everything just to hang. So. Because we had to go both ways, most of our good players, and they were kind of shot. And I call this a CNS thing. Now, thinking back, it was a CNS thing more than – it wasn't physical. It was CNS based, meaning this being in a stadium, they came out. No, people came to our games, but until the semifinals, at Cranford, we really didn't have huge crowds. All of a sudden, the whole town, 2 towns were there. and they came out and they were like, it juiced up. It probably used a lot of their juice that we would not have. I remember even our warm up. Our warm up wasn't crisp, and I was like, "Oh man, like
Right.
okay," because you didn't have as much time in a playoff. You ran right into the stadium. I mean, our kids were culture of habit at that point, and it wasn't normal habit. So, because you had to do that to get to that, you had to do that to get them comfortable, was get them in routines, get them doing certain things, get them, and then they got there. But anyway, it was. I'll tell you this though, it was a great experience. I thought we would be back there the next year, but Cranford bounced us in the first round in a freaking shootout. So because our defense just was not as good, our offense was insane. We were averaging like 40 points a game. We would score so easily, it was crazy. But it was but I knew, we all knew it. We all knew our defense wasn't quite as good as the year before. But like it was one of those things that the offense, when the offense masks it, like the
Oh, hell
offense,
yeah.
like you're scoring so easily, you're winning games by a lot, but you're watching your defense and you're like,
And you're going, dude, I don't know if we can hold up against look, and this is how I've approached it too. Like, people have to understand, like, scoring happens regardless. Like, you're gonna, like, even like, especially when you're putting up points. When it comes to playoff time, dude, it's about three things in my eyes, right? First thing is you got to be able to stop a team. Like, defense rules everything, right? The second thing comes down to penalties. The teams with the least amount of penalties, the more disciplined teams, right? Like, that's playoff football. And this is in no order, although I do think defense is the number one. And then it's like 2A, 2B is penalties, and you got to be able to run the football. Like, you got to be able to control the clock in the playoffs. And because look, it's usually colder, right? Nobody's like, you're gonna get a playoff game that's got some wind or something like that. You got to be able to control the clock. If you could do those, and you can see it throughout the season. Like,
too, I made a mistake in that because the year before we ran for like 350 yards against them,
right?
And in my head, I was like, we're just gonna be able to run at these guys. We just beat the crap out of them last time. We're gonna do the same thing. And they shut it down kind of early. We scored the first drive. It was the opposite. We scored, and then they railed off 21 straight points.
Got it.
But I made a mistake of thinking that we could run against them well. And the truth is, I should have just let De Silva he was so good at that point. Like, it's just that he didn't have to throw that much because we were winning by so much. So he would, he threw 17 touchdowns, only 4 interceptions, threw for like, I don't know, 1,800, 2,000 yards, but without even really throwing that much. I should have let him throw right from the get-go. In the second half, we were down. He was chucking it, but I was like, as soon as it happened, I was like, I should do that from the get-go. Like, but you learn, like, you know what? Because you when you have like a Huggins who went to Montclair, who was such a stud at running back, you're just thinking this kid can run out. And I had the fullback was a stud, and I just think, okay, we could just. I mean, we legitimately can run on anybody. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's nobody that we can't run on,
Right.
And that wasn't really the case, So it was interesting. But anyway, it's cool to see that. I hope he has.
It's good when those teams are good. You know what I'm saying? Like, when those smaller, like, lower end Bergen County, and I call it lower end because it's like, the south end of Bergen County. You know what I'm saying? It's not up top like Ramsey where those big wigs are. It's the bottom of 17. You know what I mean? When those teams are good, like, look, I'm excited. You got a new coach at Woodridge, right? You got my buddy Farshid taking over at Garfield, right? Like, you got Hasbrook Heights with Surrey now in there. Still have Butler, right? Like, the Pompton Lakes guy is now going to be in his second year. Like, that group of team, you throw in your Wallingtons of the world, right? Like, your who's the one I'm forgetting? New Milford, dude. Like, those Glen Rock, right? Saddlebrook, like, is now getting another new head coach. Like, so hopefully it works out. Like, you're starting like that's it's good when
they got a new field. They got a new field and lights.
Dave Schumann.
What?
Dave Schumann Field?
They're definitely not at all.
You got the track, man. You got the
My
track.
father has the track.
Yeah, because he's still coaching track at 90.
I'm trying to think of who they would if they actually legitimately named a football field after somebody. Who would they name it after?
They couldn't do it at Butler, dude. There's too many fucking names to put on the thing. Like, there would be too many names, to be honest.
If football wise, I would have to look, but my guess is the winningest coach still is probably Darren White. But Darren
winning percentage or most games won, because then it comes down to like how many years you were there. Like Leo was there for a while.
Leo might have more wins overall.
Darren White won more games in a shorter period of time.
Oh yeah, if I look that up,
throwing his softball record, and he's fucking got it by like 70.
Well, here's what I learned from Darren White. So this was interesting because Darren White really, I mean, he
great
would
dude, you, by the way, great dude, bro,
great guy. But he would tell you he wasn't like this football guru per se. Okay?
No, he just knew players. He knew how to like get the right guys to do the right shit.
He got kids out for team, and he hired good coordinators. They were actually the youth coaches, believe it or not. They were the youth coaches all the way up, but they were both guys that the offensive coordinator was Bob Senior, Bob's father, and Bob
Napolitano.
Yeah, so Bob's father.
Bobby was great, man, when he was there as the OC, dude. I liked his shit.
Yes, so his father was the OC when he played.
Got it.
His father, though, was
was he the OC, Dave, when I was playing? Like 04, 02, like 03, 04, 03, like 02, or like who was in there? Who was the head coach of Saddlebrook then?
I think your senior year was the year where we all
with left. Pomo.
There was like that was Pomo's senior year. Pomo's junior year, we were all together still.
Because you were good. Listen, you were good both of those years.
Pomo's senior, I think Lineri was the coach. He's at St. Joe's. He was he was all with us, but it was like a different, different. But Napolitano's father was a head coach for like 20 years in New York City,
and then
his son's teams, and you kind of like me, and kind of came all the way up. Back through, but he didn't want to be the head coach. He was just like he had already been a head coach. He just wanted to be a coordinator. And I am curious about Saddlebrook. Okay, let's see records. Let's see, Darren White. Does it have it in here? I think it has it.
Now, here's another question: was that Coach White's only football job ever?
Head coaching job?
Yes. Wow.
Yes. So Leo won 9, 19, 28, 31, 36, 42, 48, 50. Leo won 54 games. I think White won more than that. White came because Leo had some rough years in the beginning.
Oh, God, yeah. He might have had some over years, bro.
Yeah, in the beginning, definitely. And in the end, it was getting rough again because, like, it was kind of like so White was 97 to 2003. So White had, at the beginning, probably had some rough years. 2, 7, 13, 22, 41, 51.
Side note, you currently have me searching for a headshot image so you can put me and make me an action figure, by the way.
I'll make you one.
Can we make the action figure a little lighter in terms of weight?
Yeah, well, mine came out light. I was shocked.
Dude, I saw yours. I'm like, shit, he's running the hurdles again.
I got to redo mine because I didn't really know what I was doing at that point, but now I do.
I was like, damn, Dave looks like he could go out there and run a 4x4.
Exactly. Steve Bianco, Huddy Bianco's father, he's like, yo, that's the guy I used to know.
I hate when they say that, dude. I hate when they say that. That shit makes me want to get on a treadmill right now. I'm like, damn, maybe I shouldn't eat this pizza. son of a bitch. I hate when they say that. Oh, that's the guy I used to know. Like, you son of a bitch. Like, yeah, you think I don't know that, dude? You know, like, come on, man. Like, damn, I hate when they
So
do that.
Leo won 59 games in 13 years.
Oh boy.
Darren
Damn.
White won 58 games in 7, I think, or 8.
Wow.
So he won one less game, but he won it in a short. He has to be the. What's crazy? So Leo must be the winningest coach as far as
Wins.
because I don't think the only other era could have been the late eight. Jerry Gundry. I wonder what he won. Let me see. Jerry Gunn. These are all like in Satterbrook lore. These
Oh,
names.
yeah. Yeah, these are like folklore.
These are like, especially the names when I was a kid. Like, you know how it is when you were a kid. Like you heard a name and a coach
Dude,
said,
Bob Jones, Jack Davies, right? Like Mark Mickens. Like you hear him, you're like, ooh. Jerry Crean. That's look. Like I said, I was telling you, like I don't know, like at Butler, and you've seen the cult that is. Like I don't know if they could pick a freaking name to name. Like I know it's like Marge Giles, who was a huge, like she was a guidance counselor. She probably coached every female sport at Butler. I believe something is named after her, whether it's the gym or I don't believe it's the field because I believe it's Hempstead Memorial. Like someone's gonna call me out on it, and you know I'm that guy that doesn't know the true history of Butler. The old man would probably know it, right? Like, but I mean, there's just so many names, dude. Like Bob Jones. You know, I mean, look, he won 4 in a row. One, like a couple of them were undefeated seasons. You know what I mean? And he coached from, you know, the late 80s to the early 2000s, right? And he won a lot of games. But dude, you also have to take it like they played less games back then. Like only 4 teams made the playoffs, and you know they only played to a sectional final. Like there was no group finals. Like so, these guys went like 11-0, 12-0. It's not like 13 or 14 games now. Like it's not the same.
Darren White has the best winning percentage, hands down.
Hell yeah, bro.
And then the second is probably Jerry Gundry, and then Leo probably ends up around the 500 because he's had so many great seasons and he's had some. He had not his fault. I mean, he just had the beginning. He lost. The teams were bad, and then I mean, Greg Toll coached there, so 82,
which is insane. That's a trivia question right there.
82, 83, and 82. All right, you ready? Greg Toll's record in 82. Greg Toll was 3-6.
Wasn't even born.
In 82, he was 3-6. In 83, he was 9-2, and went to the playoffs.
And he probably recruited half his roster.
No, back then it was. Listen, Satterbrook's a weird place in that I think.
Dave, how many times have we talked about
a lot of athletes there? There's a lot of athletes. But it's where it's located.
They're on different rosters, you know.
A lot of times, the running back in St. Joe's right now, I think is the stud is a Satterbrook kid. But there's a lot. Listen, Satterbrook now has become. There's so many good athletes from Satterbrook that play at parochials.
It's a melting pot, bro.
They're all at parochials. Those kids, all the good ones.
Look, there was kids
I had like every sport.
Oh, every sport. Yeah, like when I think it gets a bad rap school system wise.
It's not it's okay school system. I mean, I don't know what the town's like now. I still.
Hey, look how you turned out. You're good. You got an MBA.
There's a lot of people that most of the people. Satterbrook's, I don't know. I don't know. Like I don't.
It's
know
a melting pot, Dave. It's a transitional town too because it's located.
Everything runs through it. So
everything goes through it, dude. It's kind of how Mount Olive is in their location in terms of like Route 80, right? Like, and it's kind of like right there. Bro, you have Parkway, Route 4, 17, right?
80.
Like you have so many major highways that people are like, oh, well, if I'm commuting to work, I can live here and still be, wherever from work, The one that I always thought was really interesting was the Lodi thing. Like just how that town. And then look, obviously, we look at the towns we grew up in and what the makeup is now socioeconomically, ethnically. Like Garfield isn't the same as it used to be. Lodi isn't the same as like all those towns. You know what I mean? You can look at what's kind of moved into or how it is now. I mean, look, even Butler is not what it used to be. You know what I'm saying? Like that stuff happens in Jersey. It's not like other places where it's just how it is. It's different.
Lodi had it's
Nutley is another one.
Lodi is an interesting place. Every decade they
Clifton,
have
bro.
Yeah, Clifton. Let's see. In Lodi
Has
was
Wallington always been a high Polish population always, or is that something recent?
no, that's always been that way. Always.
Lodi was like
Garfield. So Wallington touches Garfield on the one side. Wallington always had a high, like that's a place where a lot of Polish people live. But Garfield on the far end of it, where it touches Wallington, also used to have a high Polish population. But that changed probably a lot. I think Wallington still has a big Polish population because there's a lot of
I think so, yeah.
big like there's dude. You want to get the best pierogies
Sausage,
ever?
yeah,
Dude.
dude. Like that's it. That's it.
I mean, they have,
dude, and we're foodies in that. Like, well, like, look, we're going to New Rochelle, bro. Or like, what was the one that we were talking about? Oh, Atlantic City. We're like, damn, bro. I hope we get that tournament in so we can go eat after. Like, we're brutal like that, dude.
Oh yeah, no, it's definitely.
It's one of the perks to it, man. That's why it's not why we do it, but it adds to it, fellas.
Yeah, let's see. Powell Park has had some rough.
Yeah, I mean, look, what's the one that's like Little Korea over there? Leonia, right?
Powell Park, the last time they won.
I mean, you drive through Leonia, man, and it's Korean on the storefronts.
Powell Park only has gone to the playoffs 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 times in their history.
And how many was you?
2. The year that I left mid-season would have been the third, but
well, I mean, look, and then you look at
that's a story for another. Now I see everybody getting all their money. Now I should have
Dave, and then in retrospect, you look at Butler playoff appearances, 28.
Think about that. That's a lot.
15 finals appearances, 8 sectional titles.
I wonder how many times Saddlebrook's been in the playoffs. Let me see.
Don't do it.
Yeah. Saddlebrook must be much more than. All right, Saddlebrook's been 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10, 11. They've been 14.
14 what playoff appearances?
Yeah. That's.
You ready for this one? Mountain Lakes. 40.
40.
17 finals appearances, 9 sectional titles. Dude, that's like, that was how we judged it, dude.
Old Japan is.
Oh, gotta be. New Milford, 16. Here, Hasbrook Heights, they gotta be high. Hasbrook Heights, 29 for Hasbrook Heights.
Yeah, 28 for Old Japan.
Let's
Glenrock
see.
must be pretty high.
Woodridge, 7. Rutherford, 20. Pompton Lakes has to be a good one, too. Pompton Lakes, 28.
Glenrock's not that many.
Glenrock, 26 playoff appearances.
Is that what it says? 26?
11 finals, 8 sectional titles. So when they get there, they win. You know what I'm saying? Waldwick, 13. Who else?
The majority of Old Japan in the last 20 years have been.
Oh, God, yeah. If you look at it as a team in the last 20 years, like who's the solid Roger got? Like
20 for 20.
Right. Playoff appearances for Kreskill, 26.
Kreskill used to be. They're gone. There is no Kreskill.
I know they're co-op. Lodi has 11.
Lodi used to be decent.
Pagoda, 15.
Pagoda has 15. Huh.
Wallington, 9. How about Park Ridge? They've been pretty good the last couple of years. 20. This is fun. St.
What
Mary's
about
has 30 playoff
yeah,
appearances,
St.
brother.
Mary's parochial? Yeah.
Oh, stop.
What about Ramapo?
See, that's like, oof. I mean, look, here's the ultimate. If you, to me, right, if you looked at a team that was whatever when we were playing and is now like a drop off in the other way, Ramapo is 31.
You know? Do you know what was the powerhouse in the '60s? You don't even know in Bergen County, um,
Wayne
and
Hills,
and 50
31.
is Saint Cecilia's from Englewood, which is no longer a high school. It's just a uh,
Wayne Valley, 25. Paramus, right? 16. Bergenfield, 12. Here, where's the team I want to see? Because I know he's watching the fucking episode. Riverdale, 26.
they're always good.
Always. Let's see. Nutley has a 17. One sectional title. Passaic Valley, 20. Lakeland's always in it. Only 16. I spoke too soon because I always talk.
Oh, the
Let's see.
top. This is a cool thing on Bergen Passaic site.
Sparta has 30. Oof.
The top non-playoff teams in the old days when there was no, there was no, they only took 4 teams.
Yeah.
Teams who did not make it that were great. He lists all the teams that were. Wow, so like there are teams that were 8-1 that would not.
Didn't make it because they play. You know what I mean? Like, but I always looked at that weird too. And obviously, I'm biased because at Butler we always played up. I mean, Dave, we used to make the playoffs a lot of times at like 4-4, and then run the table in the playoffs because we got, we were always playing bigger and whatever, and playoff appearances would like you were ready when you got there. You know what I'm saying?
Like, listen to this. This is great. So 1977 Saddlebrook team did not make the 4 playoff. They lost to a 4-3-2 Dumont, which must have got them out. But they tied the state champion Cliffside Park, and
that's what I'm saying.
And they beat 9-2 state finalist Tenafly. So they were actually a great team, but they did not get in, and they were 8-7-1-1. Did not get in. Passaic Tech had a team in 1995 that went. They had 3.
Passaic County Tech.
Yeah, 90, 92, and 95. Their teams were.
Oh, they were. Yeah, they used to put out like NFL guys all the time, and they didn't get in.
They didn't get in because it was 4. Because remember, they played Group 1 and 2 teams in the BPSL, so they would have.
That was like who, like Patterson Catholic and all that.
Saddlebrook, they had to go under. The only way PCT ever made the playoffs back then was if they went undefeated, because anyone who was undefeated got in the playoffs. So, but they went 8-1 3 times and did not get in.
Cedar Grove, bro, 32 playoff appearances.
No, Cedar Grove's a great one.
All New Providence, 39.
Who?
New Providence. We used to see them every year, Group 1.
That's a great program. I bet you. Yeah, there's probably places. How about Belvedere? How many times has Belvedere been in?
Oh God, that was always like we were. If we weren't playing them, they were on the other side of the bracket. You know what I mean? Like 18, only 18. But dude, I remember in the 90s it was Belvedere, Mountain Lakes, Cedar Grove. I mean, they switched it when I was like a junior, senior. That's when we started playing because it was always Glenrock in the, section, whatever, section 1, we were section 2, right? Like Glenrock was us on the other side. And that was always, we always had to go through New Providence or Belvedere. And then senior year, that's when senior year, it was all Bergen County. We had to beat Cresskill, then we had to beat Glenrock. And then we saw Booton in the finals, but it was the same thing my junior year. Like then it was Morris County. We had to play Kinnelon. And then we played Booten in the second round, and then they played Mountain Lakes in the finals. Verona was always in it because they were a Group 1 at the time. I mean, just different types. I mean, it's cool to look at some of that stuff and see how kind of the things shake out nowadays. But it's tough, man. Look, winning. If I've learned one thing through all the coaching and all that kind of stuff, it's like winning isn't normal. Like, it's hard to win any game. And I was just so accustomed to it that I expected it. And, you really start to savor those teams that you win. You make a playoff run. You get to those other ones when you're kind of the only few playing those last couple of weekends, man. Like, it's just different. But.
All right. Well,
all right, man.
All right. I'll talk to you
nice.
later.
Later, buddy.